What's up, Ant City, and welcome back to yet another Xenoverse 3 discussion. In this video, we're going to be focusing heavily on characters such as CACS characters, custom characters, and transformations. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We'll start by going over transformations that I want to see for each character. So first up, we'll go for Saiyans. So I think for Saiyans, what I think would be the coolest thing is letting the transformations for Super Saiyan through Super Saiyan 3 be more customizable. So specifically with Super Saiyan 3, for example, because you know how normally, which they could do it this way too, mind you, but you know how normally like you have Super Saiyan and then Super Vegeta, right, in the game. Super Saiyan boosts like your strike stats and Super Vegeta boosts your key stats. So I think they should add Vegeta's Daima Super Saiyan 3 hair as an option. But I think the cooler way to do it, because the way it works right now is if you use regular Super Saiyan 3, you go into Goku's Super Saiyan 3 here. So obviously the way they could do this is just update the Super Vegeta form to include 3, and that gives you the Daima hair. I think what would be cooler though is for Super Saiyan 3 is if they just let you pick which hairstyle you want. Because imagine like you want to focus more on strike attacks, right? Assuming that the stat changes for the form stay the same. Imagine you want to build like a more strike based one, so you want to use regular Super Saiyan 3, but you want the Daima Vegeta hair. I think they should let you decide for both which one you want. So like imagine like you go Super Vegeta 3, but you can keep the long like Super Saiyan 3 Goku hair. Or if you want to use Super Saiyan 3, like the regular one, you can use the Daima Vegeta hair. I think that should be an option. And then for Super Saiyan 1 and 2, I think they can leave it, especially because we saw in the newest trailer, or not the newest trailer, but the reveal trailer, that it looks like, because we know John Dragon Ball is the custom character stand-in now, and his hair did spike up when he goes Super Saiyan. So they could always make it to where each hairstyle just has a spiked up version when you transformed, or they could let you pick. So imagine like when you equip like a transformation on your character, they could pull up like a menu where you get to decide what your transformed hairstyle looks like. I always thought that would be like the easiest solution for the spiking up hair. I think they probably are going to just have them like the hairstyles by default do like a certain spiked look to it instead of letting you pick. But I think letting you pick would be cool, especially if people want to do goofy shit. Like imagine you go Super Saiyan, but then your character just turns bald. I think they should let you do stuff like that. Just, you know, more customization options is always good. So I think letting you at least pick the Super Saiyan 3 hairs would be cool, but they could always just add it to Super Vegeta. In terms of other transformations though, I think Kaioken Blue should get added. So they could technically, like right now the way the game is, you can technically do Kaioken Blue because you have Kaioken skills that you can use for any, like while you're transforming in any state. So you could do it with like Super Saiyan, Ultra Instinct, and it gives you the Kaioken aura. But specifically I'm putting Kaioken Blue here because I want the look for ×10 Kaioken. You know how Goku's hair turns all like a little more like silvery, I guess. You know, like he gets like a lot more heavily shaded when he goes Kaioken ×10. That is specifically the one I want for custom characters, because the way it works right now, it would just be you go like blue or even like evolution, and then you could just use a Kaioken skill. You get the Kaioken aura for a second. It's already in the game for Blue Goku, the Kaioken Blue transformation, like the animation and all that. So I feel like just adding at least the ×10 variant to a custom would be cool, especially because we already have blue. So adding like another step to that would be cool. Another one I think they could add is Rosé, mostly just because we already have Super Saiyan Blue. So really, they would just need to change up the aura a little bit and then make the hair pink. I think that's easy enough to do if they've done blue and then like Super Saiyan even turns your hair yellow. I think they could easily do Rosé and it would be cool. I talked about it a little bit in like the story video of how like it could tie into like the story too, depending on like how you play the story. You could get Rosé or blue. I think Rosé should come though because it's a very popular form. Everyone loves it, and there's a lot of people who want to make more of like an evil quote-unquote custom character. Like even in Xenoverse 2 for me, I have my regular custom and then like an evil version. So if they added Rosé, that would be really sick. And they could even give it like the like in your combos you do like the key sword and stuff. That would be cool. But the next one I have on here is they could add the legendary or full power Super Saiyan Broly's form. That's the one that I think they could add, just because again it's like another, it's basically, honestly it's because it's just like another color. I think they could make it really cool. This I'll kind of talk about this a little more with a different form, but it could change up like your character model a bit more too. But I think like the reason I have legendary, because you notice I didn't mention like, oh, they could do like super trunks or super saiyans like grade 1, 2 and 3 and all that. It's because I think really they should focus on forms that are very aesthetically unique, and legendary at least gives you the green hair. So I think that alone, to me, especially because it would be very similar to like the super trunks form or like super saiyan grade 3, but you just get the green hair instead. I feel like you might as well just do legendary if you were thinking about adding grade 3, because it's basically the same thing, just one has the green hair. Obviously the main thing would just be figuring out all the stat differences for all these forms, because, you know, we already have a bunch. We have Super Saiyan God, Blue, I'm talking about like Kaioken in here, like all of that in Xenoverse 2 already, so figure out the stat differences would be tough. But I think these transformations I'm talking about are just the ones I think would be the most unique and the most likely. And then the last one I have here is Super Saiyan 4. I've seen some discussion actually of people talking about, are we going to get the GT or Daima version? If you ask me, just do both. There's no reason not to just add GTs and Daimas. I don't see why they couldn't, especially because Breakers, because if y'all know, Breakers uses Xenoverse models. And in that game, your custom character can go Super Saiyan 4, and it has like the moving tail and everything. So I think that alone to me shows like a proof of concept that they can make GT Super Saiyan 4 work. And I mean, I'm just under the assumption that Breakers was kind of like a testing ground for Xenoverse 3 stuff anyways. So I think GT Super Saiyan 4 could happen, and then Daima also. Just give us like 2 different versions, because why not? I mean, they both look different. They could do different things. And people love both. People love GT and Daima. I think if you want to maximize like satisfaction, just do both versions. I mean, I'm sure like no matter which one you give people, they'll use it. And then again, this could be a thing where you could heavily customize it too, because you know, the hair for Super Saiyan 4, like Goku for example, looks so wildly different. You could give us like multiple different longer like like more wild and big hairstyles to choose from for our like custom character Super Saiyan 4 form. I think that GT Super Saiyan 4 could easily work, and so could Daima. I think adding both of those. But that's basically everything I have for Saiyans. If you guys have any ideas or any forms you think were important that I missed, I feel like I pretty much covered everything though. I guess one thing I could mention is for Super Saiyan 2, they could also make the hair look slightly different than Super Saiyan. That is something I meant to mention earlier. Make Super Saiyan 2's hair look a little bit different if possible, but or you know, if we get to customize it, then that'd be another way to do that. But that's all I can think of for Saiyans right now though. So yeah, moving on to the next one. Next we've got the Frieza Race. So a simple one for Frieza Race is I think the easiest way to do it is, so whenever you make your initial Frieza Race, that should be considered like your first form, right? No matter what you decide to make it look like, that should just be like your first form. They could do this 2 different ways, but the easier way to do this would be that's your first form, and then you get the second, third, and fourth as transformations. But kind of like what I said for Saiyans, I think all of those, especially on a Frieza Race, because the form looks so much more unique than like the hair just changing, they should let you customize these. I think the way they could do it is like second form, for example. They could make it where you do get bigger, and like the default look is based on second form Frieza, but then you still get to customize it from there. So it won't look too drastically different from second form Frieza, but you could add little details to make it more unique. And then same thing for third form and even fourth form. Or the other way that they could do this is, because we know in lore, Frieza's final form is actually his base form, and then every other form he added as like a restrictor to his power. They could do it like that too. Actually, now that I think about it, that wouldn't really make sense though, because the forms are supposed to be buffs. So I think, yeah, you would just start in your first form when you make your character, no matter how you decide to make it look like. And then you can do like your higher transformations, like second, third, and fourth, and then you can make them all customize them however you want to make them all look more unique. But it would still be mostly based on like Frieza's or like Frost form. You just kind of can add some details to make yours feel more unique. I think that would be cool. Another one I have on here is Cooler's final form, the form specifically when he gets the mask. So again, this one, I think the biggest thing is that it should automatically add a mask to your character. I mean, right now in Xenoverse 2, you can just give your character a mask, but I think it should like add like a specific mask, or maybe you could even customize it there too, right? Like you can add maybe like, I think this form, regardless of if you put a mask or not, should give you the mask. Like maybe if you already picked one for your base form, it'll just keep that mask. But if you didn't pick one, then when you get to this form, you do get to pick a mask to put onto your character. I think that would be cool. And again, it's another unique form for Frieza Race characters that I think a lot of people would really love. I've also got full power. That one is really simple. You would just take like the fourth form look and just make it buff. It would just be a more buff form, kind of like what I talked about with legendary for Saiyans. You would just get buffer there too. Like you get the green hair and everything, but then your character gets really buff. I think full power could basically work exactly the same. The next thing I'm going to talk about here is the golden form. So I think really all they need to do for this is update it. Essentially, I would just want them to let you customize it more. So you can pick which parts of you are golden or what color the golden for, just to make it look a little more accurate, because it picks for you like what color goes where. I think if you just let someone, like, you know, the player customize that themselves as like an update to the form, it'd be cool. They could even update like the animation if they wanted to be closer to like true golden Frieza. Like if you guys have played like Revamp or anything, like, you know, it has like a unique animation. They could do that. Obviously the one we currently have is based on Resurrection F. They could do it based on, you know, true golden Frieza, which is from the Tournament of Power arc. I don't think they'd add true golden as like its own form, because it's really not any aesthetically different or anything. So I think they could just update golden to let it be more like customizable. Oh, and then another thing with golden too is I think that your fourth form, and then if you have Cooler's final form, you should be able to like stack golden on top of that too, because, you know, we have golden Cooler, that is a thing in Heroes, and then your final form could also have golden on it. I mean, if they really wanted to, they can make all the forms have golden, but I think at least maybe like for final form Cooler's form, for example, you can go from, like, you know, you can just do the regular one, and then there's a step above that that's like golden Cooler, right? Like it's all part of one transformation slot. Same thing with like your fourth slash final form. You could just add golden as a step above that instead of having golden be its own separate thing, or you could still do golden as its own separate thing. I think letting it be stackable at least would be really cool. Like, I don't know how exactly they would make that work. So they could either add it as like fourth form and golden, and then keep regular golden if you want it in your first form as its own thing, or if they want to keep it simple, golden can just be its own separate thing entirely. But I just think being able to stack it on top of like the mask, like Cooler form or your final form would be cool and a little more accurate to like what actually happens. But I guess they could always consolidate golden into fourth form though, so it's like the same thing. Kind of like how you can go Super Saiyan 3 straight from base. You could just go golden from base if you have enough ki, that sort of thing. There's a lot of ways they could do it, but I think letting it be stackable with other forms and still customizable would be cool. And then the next form I have on the list, now this one isn't one I think is going to come into the base game. I'm sure, spoilers if you haven't read the manga, but I think Black Frieza. I think that is a really easy form to just add to your Frieza Race. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to add this until Granola gets animated, so it'd be like a DLC way down the line. But I think this is like a perfect form to add for Frieza Races that could come later. Obviously, again, kind of make it customizable like Golden, where you can pick which parts turn black, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's the last form I could think of in my head. That was the last idea that I had. I think that alone, though, because you got to consider there's still forms that can be used by all races, like Ultra Instinct and Potential Unleashed. I think that all the forms I mentioned alone would give Frieza Race characters so much more like diversity and make them look a lot cooler and like be more customizable and not feel lackluster compared to Saiyans, because right now Saiyans have like everything in terms of forms. I think if they add these ones, it makes the Frieza Race kind of feel a little bit more even to the Saiyans. So the next one I want to talk about is Namekians. So the first one I have listed here is called Bio Armor. So this is actually a form Namekians get in Heroes when they do a class up, right? So there's this system in Heroes called like a class up. So easiest way to explain it is when you class up when you're like a Saiyan, you get Super Saiyan. So it's basically the Namekian equivalent of like a Super Saiyan. Basically, they made it up for Heroes. It's called Bio Armor. I think the Heroes forms could definitely be used in Xenoverse, just because, you know, Xenoverse has a lot of similar concepts to Heroes. And again, these are official things that were put in like an official product. So I think that they could use them, or at least make something new that's based off of it, because the way it works for Namekians is they just grow armor over their bodies. It's like a exoskeleton type of thing, I guess is how I'd put it. Again, it's just something unique that is official that Namekians have that I think they could definitely do. So I think they should. Just because I want to give all the races more forms. Because obviously there's some obvious ones that we're going to talk about here soon. But I think giving them some more unique ones, again, so that way we're not falling too behind on Saiyans, would be cool. Now, jumping right into the next one, I'm going to talk about the Namekian Red Eye form. So again, this one is from Heroes also. It's when you do the God class up. So again, just to compare it to Saiyans, when Saiyans do a God class up, they get Super Saiyan God. Namekians get the red-eyed form. So we do kind of have this already, is the only issue with Beast, because Beast actually gives you red eyes on your Namekian or whatever character you play. It gives you the red eyes. So that could be a problem there. I don't know what they would do aesthetically to make this look different, but the red-eyed form is essentially like supposed to be kind of like their Super Saiyan God form, right? And the one right after that, which we'll just talk about both together, is the blue-eyed form, which would be their Super Saiyan Blue. I think the blue-eyed form at least should happen, just because that is different enough. Because I mean, Beast for Namekians, you don't grow hair or anything. It's just the different aura and the eyes. So if they're okay doing that for Beast, I think doing the blue-eyed form here would fit perfectly. They could just give it like a unique animation. You could get like a unique aura for it, and that to me is enough for it to be its own transformation, because Beast already does that. Again, I don't know about the red-eyed form though, just because it might clash with Beast. Maybe they just give it a different aura or something. I mean, you wouldn't really even be seeing the eyes most of the time, and besides the initial animation for the transformation. But again, the red and blue-eyed forms are from Heroes, and it was their equivalent of like God forms, so I think that they should definitely include those. And then of course the obvious one is Power Awakening. So that is, you know, like the yellow Piccolo form, that it's basically his potential unleashed. And then Orange Piccolo and Giant Orange for Namekians. Again, those are just the two really easy ones to add. It's kind of, I feel like those two are the ones everyone's expecting, because it just makes perfect sense. You know, we got two new forms for Piccolo, so why would we not get them for our Namekians in a new custom like Xenoverse game? I don't like why. It just makes too much sense. But I included all the other forms first, just because those are official forms that Namekians have gotten in official media. And I think, again, because if we just get Power Awakening, Orange, and then like Giant Orange, first of all, we already have Giant, so that would be slightly redundant. But I think the Orange form, at least in Power Awakening, like if we just got those two, it would make Namekians again feel really lackluster compared to all the other races. So giving us the blue and red-eyed form, as simple as like of a change it would be, they could make them look cool if they give them a cool enough aura, I will say. But those are at least something else to give to Namekians, so they're not falling too far behind. And then the other thing I want to talk about is with the Giant form. Obviously they would have to limit this a bit. I did talk about this a bit in a previous video, but the Giant form itself, I would like to be able to keep my moveset. Because the way it works now is once you go Giant, you can't even do an ultimate attack, or they should at least add an ultimate attack first of all, if they're going to change your moveset again. Add some sort of ultimate to Giants, just so there's something cool with them. But letting me keep my moveset would be cool, but obviously they'd have to limit this, because I'm sure there's certain moves, like imagine trying to do like Spirit Bomb with a Giant, because of how the maps work, there's like a ceiling and stuff. I feel like the animation would probably break and it wouldn't work too well. But maybe like specific forms or specific moves, sorry, you would be allowed to use still, that like wouldn't break the animations, or they could just make it work. Because like, for example, like Baby, not in Xenoverse, but Baby in the series does Revenge Death Ball as a Giant, so they could make stuff like that work. Maybe even kind of like what they have right now, where there's moves specific for Crystal Raid bosses. They could give you moves that are like specific to Giant Namekians, or just have certain moves compatible with the form, something like that. I think at least letting you pick ultimates, or adding a unique ultimate for the Giant form would be cool, because right now it's like I barely have ever seen anyone use the Giant Namekian form, and it's just, I think it simply just comes down to the fact that it's really not that fun to use. Like sure, you become Giant, that's cool, but then the moveset is just, you know, you lose all your unique moves and stuff that you customize, so it's just like, well, what's the point, you know? Like, it was cool at first, and like you would see them, like people would cheese with it and stuff, but like overall it's kind of just like a whatever form. It's cool that we have it, I don't think it should go away, but I think they should at least let you customize the moveset more, because I think that makes it feel really bare bones. The next race I want to talk about is humans. So the first one I have is the buff for, like, I guess full power form. It's the form that Roshi uses in OG Dragon Ball. Again, I have this one listed for humans because, I mean, Roshi is a human and it is something that he does, and it would be something unique for humans. Again, we kind of talked about similar concepts with the Frieza race having their full power form, and then like Saiyans having the legendary form. So, I mean, if those were to come, for example, like hypothetically, I think a buff human form could work really well. You just literally get you just get buffer basically, and it could like just make your skills do like more damage, like, you know, whatever stat buffs they decide to give it. But I think that is a good human form because it is something that humans actually do in the series, or Roshi specifically, but it could work for humans. So the next one I have on here, I just called it high tension to keep it simple because this is something like Krillin had in the Budokai games, but to make it more unique, I'm gonna go based off of the Dragon Ball Super anime. So there's this form called, it's not really a form, but if you look on the wiki, look up like no ego zone or state of selflessness, whatever. It's a form that Krillin has where basically he controls his ki perfectly and it kind of like surrounds his body and he gets like this white aura. While I don't really consider this a form, the game could, you know, like they could easily make this its own form where like, you know, you kind of are controlling your ki perfectly. You kind of get it like around your body. They could make this work where it's a very simple aura, because if you look, it's not like his aura is not like bursting out and stuff. It's just kind of surrounding his body, kind of like Ultra Instinct almost, I would say, the way it's kind of flowing around his body, which would just be a cool, like, unique thing to add. I don't think they will. I just think, again, for humans, the thing with humans is it's hard because there's not really too much that humans do in the show that could be its own form. So I think this, if we're really like going slim pickings, I think this could work as its own thing. And then the next one I have on here is potential unlocked. So specifically what I'm referring to here is this would be a different thing than, so currently we have potential unleashed in the game, right? Which is Ultimate Gohan's form. I think what they should do, because Xenoverse 1 actually had it called Unlock Potential, but it's supposed to be Elder Kai's. I think this one should be the Guru Potential Awakening. And the difference would be, I think that Potential Unleashed, kind of like what it does with Ultimate Gohan in the game right now, where it kind of makes your character look all shiny. I think Potential Unleashed should be updated to do that, and then Potential Unlocked should basically be similar, but it just doesn't make you look shiny, and then keep it exclusive to humans. Again, just so that humans get something more exclusive. Technically, Gohan also does get his potential unlocked in this way, and he's a hybrid Saiyan. But they're both Earthlings, they're both from Earth. Krillin gets it. So I think they could make that its own form as well, just for humans, like the Guru Potential like Awakening, and then make Potential Unleashed make your character look shinier. I think that would be cool. And now this last one, I kind of just like, this one I just completely made up, but like a weapon transformation. So the way this one would work is like, again, it's not really a transformation, I guess, but they could, I mean, Power Pole Pro is a current transformation in the game, right? So I don't think this one's that far-fetched. I guess the easiest way to explain it is imagine like you click the button, right, to transform, and then it pulls up like a little menu, and you can pick what weapon you want. So you can pick like a weapon or sword or whatever, and then you just fight with that, and it could give you like unique combos and stuff. What made me think of this one was the fact that Mai, who is an Earthling and a human in Dragon Ball Super, uses a gun. Like, you know, there's this whole army that she leads and they use weapons. Yajirobe uses a sword. He's also a human. So I just think they could give like a weapons class type of thing where like you could choose your whatever weapon you want to fight with, and it could like give you unique combos. Like, I'm imagining like, you know, like if you had like the gun, it would be like, I don't think they'd actually add like a gun, but it could be like a stun gun, or like it shoots like flash grenades or something. Or like the sword, you would get like unique combos with it, kind of like you know, like Few in his combo, he fights with the sword. I think they could do stuff like that and just give it as a form for humans. It's just, again, something unique that I thought of because it was really hard for me to think of forms for humans. So if you guys have watched this far and you guys have ideas for human forms, let me know, because that was the one I struggled with the most, the Earthlings. I think, to me, they have the like most slim options for transformation. So let me know what you guys think, but I think a weapons thing could be cool and just give something else that's unique to humans. And now the next race we're going to talk about is the Majins. So now I know people want like more body build types for Majins, and I do completely agree. I think male and female Majins both should be able to have like bigger or smaller body types. But I still think the Super Buu form itself could be its own thing. So it could be kind of like what Purification is right now, where it just basically changes your model into like Kid Buu, but with like a different color. I think they should let you customize it a little bit more than just being Kid Buu. Maybe you could change like the antenna or something to make it feel more unique. But I think Super Buu could work essentially the same as that. The only thing, and I've harped about this multiple times, but the biggest thing for me is don't make it change your moveset though. I can understand your moveset changing for like giants because your character model physically gets like way bigger, but Kid Buu is and Super Buu too, they're already like regular models in the game. So I feel like you could just use pretty much whatever move you want. They would just have to animate it, obviously. But I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to do. I don't know. I'm not like a developer of the game or anything, so maybe it's more complicated than I'm thinking. But I feel like, it makes more sense with giants because, your whole character model changes. They'd have to scale all the moves differently too. But I feel like with, a more regular model like Kid Buu and Super Buu, they should let you just use the use whatever moves that you want, or they could kind of do like I said with giants, where there's just a list of compatible moves with the form that you can equip. Because that was the one thing that bothered me with purification, is you literally just become Kid Buu essentially. So it's just like, well, why would I do that when I just play as Kid Buu? So I think letting you customize these a bit more, so like maybe changing like Buu's antenna or something, or you know, just something to make it more unique besides you just literally become Super Buu or Kid Buu, would be cool. But I think if they're gonna, I'm assuming purification is gonna stay, so I think adding like a Super Buu version would be cool. The next one I have is Fit Buu or Shape Up Buu. It's the one from, this is actually a card in Dokkan, fun fact. But it's that one during the Tournament of Power where Buu is training really hard and he gets like extra skinny, almost looking like Evil Buu. I think they could add that as a form just because it's funny, and they could do unique stuff. Like maybe you get like a lot faster with it and stuff. And again, still let you use like your own transformations. And I think the reason I have Fit Buu and not Evil Buu is because I feel like with Fit Buu, since he looks so similar to Evil Buu, if they let you customize the colors and stuff, you could just make it look like Evil Buu. And they could even kind of combine the two here, right? Where Fit Buu maybe uses some animations from Evil Buu. And then you can like change the color around and stuff to make it look closer to Evil Buu. You know, that sort of thing. But I think like the shape up form would be really funny. So I think that that should be a thing that they add. Like it would just be, again, another unique thing for Majins. And now the next one is probably my favorite idea on this list, but Absorption. So the way this one would work is essentially when you trigger it, it would be a move that has to hit your enemy. And if you quote unquote absorb them, you know, it can play the animation kind of like when Super Buu absorbs in like other games, where he shoots his gum back at himself. But I think what it would do is you would copy your opponent's clothes and their moveset. I think that would be really cool to see online. Like, you know, you're fighting someone, you could even copy like their super soul and stuff, right? Like it would balance out the fight even more. But I think this one would be really cool, where obviously you can't like just straight up absorb them and you just win. It would be more like you're copying them. But I think, you know, them wording it as like absorption. So like you grab whoever you're fighting and then absorb them into you, and then you just copy all their stuff. I think that would be really cool. Again, it's something like Majins. We've seen like Buu does it all the time in the show. He absorbs people constantly. So I think adding that as a form, because imagine that in like an online battle, right? Like you're fighting with somebody and then like they have some moves that they're using that you're like, oh, those are really good. You could just copy that. And then you're like, well, now it's my moves. So I'm fighting you against yourself. And I don't know if this would be like limited, like I don't know if it'd be like a time limited absorption or what, or if it'd be like or if it's just like maybe really hard to hit or something. I could see that, where it's like it's harder to hit it, but when you do get it, you get like the stats and, well, maybe not the stats, but like the clothing, super soul, and skills of your opponent. That'd be cool. But that one, obviously you couldn't really customize it though, because you're literally copying like your opponent. It'd be funny too to like absorb another Majin, right? And I think this one works really well because with Xenoverse, it's very unlikely that two people have the exact same stuff on. So like even if you did fight someone who happened to have the same stuff as you, that's going to be like a more rare occurrence. So like getting to absorb, like, especially because most people are going to play like Saiyans, right? So getting to like absorb their moveset and stuff would be really cool. Oh, and one last thing for customs. So I want to talk about new races that they could add. I think the main ones that I can think of are, which we talked about this before in a previous video, is they could add a Kai or Glind race. I think that'd be cool. And they could also do like bio androids. I think those two to me feel like the most unique ones, because I've seen people throw around like, you know, oh, they could add like hybrid Saiyans or like a Bojack race and stuff like that. I feel like the problem with like a lot of those, like for example, like let's take or hybrid Saiyans, for example. Realistically, there's not much about hybrid Saiyans that'd be different than regular Saiyans than maybe stats. So I feel like if there's not really a big aesthetic difference, there's no reason to add it. Like, you know, like say hybrid Saiyans would just have all the forms that regular Saiyans have. You know, like I don't think they'd get any of like the human exclusive forms. They would just get all of the Saiyan forms. And then at that point, it's like, what's the point of adding them if, you know, the customization options are all the same? You could just make a Saiyan and just call your character a hybrid Saiyan. Like, I don't think there's that much different that they would do with a hybrid, especially like, you know, if they give you like unique combos and stuff. Like I've talked about this previously. Like if they let you customize your combos and all that, you could just make your character feel like a hybrid without needing it to be its own race. I don't see a reason for that. Same thing with like regular androids. Especially because humans in the game, Earthlings in Xenoverse, have like passive key regen and stuff. So you just make an Earthling and just call them an android. I don't think they need to add those as their own races, because they would be too aesthetically similar to Saiyans and humans already. And Saiyans and humans are already pretty similar, right? So adding more subcategories to them, I feel like is just kind of redundant. But I think something like a bio android, which is like Cell, that looks very unique. That they could do, because that is a very unique look for an android. And then same thing with like Glins. They look very different than any other of the races too. And with Glins, they could also do like demons maybe, but you could, I feel like if they just do a Glind, you can always just make them look more like a demon, you know? Or they could just call it like a demon race character or something. Like it could be the other way around. Like they add it like a demon realm race character or something. I just feel like Glind specifically would work because it was in Heroes. Heroes had the well, they called it Kais because we didn't know they were Glinds before, but they had that as its own race in Heroes, and they even had the Power of Time Unleashed form that Supreme Kai Time has. So I think adding those two could be cool. I know people have like a million ideas for races that they could add, but my thing is like, because, you know, someone might say like, oh, well, Hybrid Saiyans would have like unique combos and stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, if they add custom combos, do you really need that? You know, I saw someone mention like, oh, maybe like the Hera clan as a race. I think that would be interesting. But I feel like also like if they add like the Demon Realm stuff, like you could just make something that looks similar to that. I think bio androids and Demon Realm characters alone, like the way that those characters typically look would cover uniqueness enough to have more fun. Like I think if they added like a Glind, you could just make that Glind look like a Hera clan member, because, you know, they have the pointed ears and all that stuff. I think that like that works in my opinion. I don't think we need all these subcategories. Now, the next thing I have is these are forms that could go for all characters, actually. So the first one I've got is Bobity's mind control. So like the Majin form. I think this one would be really simple to add. You would just need to, obviously, like right now in Xenoverse, we actually have this as like a accessory. You can just put the Majin symbol on your head. It's like a little, like a tattoo. They could just add that, but I think to make it look more unique, just add like some veins popping and stuff onto your character. It could even just be like on your character's forehead or something, right? Just to make it look a little more unique, and then you can change like the aura and stuff. But I think a Bobity mind control form could be something that every race has. I think that, because, you know, Bobity doesn't only mind control like Saiyans. We've seen like Earthlings have been controlled by Bobity, and if that's like Bobity could technically mind control anybody, so I think that being its own form would be cool. The next ones I have are Villainous in the supervillain form. So again, Villainous is actually in the files for Xenoverse, funnily enough. Like I've put it on my character before. It is something that you can actually use in Xenoverse 1. So I don't know, it's like it's in the files. So I don't know if it was like intended to be usable on your character at some point or something, but it is something you can use. It's the, like, you know, you get like the dark aura and stuff, and then supervillain is just like the Xenoverse 2 version, right? They could even go as far as ultra supervillain, but that's kind of like, I guess they could, right? It's like you get the crystal and stuff on your chest. They could make that one work too. But these are all forms that could work on any character. The Villainous, supervillain, ultra supervillain. I just think it'd be cool, again, like I mentioned with Rose, where people like to make a more evil, like custom character. So I think giving us options to make your character more evil if you want, especially if they do like the choice-based story and all that, it would make sense to get like the Villainous forms if you want to make your character more evil. So I think adding those, there's Xenoverse originals too, so I think it'd be really cool. Next, I have the God of Destruction form. So this would basically just be like Topo's form. Again, there's no limit to who can be a God of Destruction. So all you'd have to do is just put like the symbol, which it doesn't even have to be like on the character model, right? They could technically make it like its own layer in front of the character model, so it still works. And then you would get like the Hakai aura. It could even work just like Topo, where when you shoot Topo with Ki Blast, it just nullifies them because of his Hakai aura. I think that would be cool for them to add that as its own form for all custom characters, because it's kind of like, you know, like Ultra Instinct, right? Like that's not exclusive to Saiyans. God of Destruction form isn't exclusive to like Beerus's race or whatever. Anybody can be like a God of Destruction, so I think that would be a really cool form, and it would be unique with the whole like Ki thing, the Ki Blast thing. Next, I have Ultra Instinct Omen. This one is because we already have Ultra Instinct, so why not just add the Omen version? You could just kind of just distinct it the way they do in the game right now, where it's like, obviously as a Saiyan, you'd keep like your black hair. But for the other races, they could just make the aura a little bit smaller. Again, I don't know what they would change about like the dodging and stuff though, but I think, you know, we already have Ultra Instinct, so Omen is a thing they could add for all custom characters as well. So like, why not? And then the last one I have listed here in terms of transformations is Ultra Ego. Again, just like Black Frieza, this wouldn't be able to be added until much later down the line, whenever that gets animated, but it's a form they could easily give to all races. And you know, obviously Saiyans, like you get the purple hair, so that's like yet another color that you could do. But I think that this is technically like again, because of like the lore with Ultra Ego, it's not like it's a Saiyan exclusive thing. So like even Earthlings could get it, and like that's actually, that'd be funny. That'd be a form that actually changes their hair color besides Ultra Instinct. You'd get Ultra Ego too. It's just a really easy form to add that would hype people up and get people really excited about. Now, the last segment we're gonna go into for this video is CACS character stuff. So that was all the stuff I had for custom. So if you have any other ideas for like transformations, let me know. But going into CACS characters, so the first thing I have on my list is the God of Destruction Fury form. So this one's different than the Topo form I was talking before. What I'm talking about here with Fury is, so Dokkan's a good example of this. When he has like the Fury mode, he gets like the purple aura and stuff. That's specifically what I'm talking about. Like in Battle of Gods, when he gets like this purple aura and he's angrier. That I think all of like the CACS God of Destruction should get this, because I think it's implied that all the God of Destructions could do this. So Champa, Belmont's in the game right now, and whatever other Gods of Destruction they have should get this form, because it's different than Topo's, because Topo's is like an apprentice thing, like he's still learning to be a God of Destruction. This one is more like they get angry and like the aura surrounds them type of thing. So I think that is a thing that should get added. Next, we have Power of Time Unleashed for Supreme Kai of Time. So I kind of mentioned this before with the Glyn race, but Supreme Kai of Time has another form that she's never used in the Xenoverse games. I think they could go ahead and give it to her here, just because, I mean, she is playable now, the regular Supreme Kai of Time. So giving her a transformation would just make her feel even cooler to play. Next one I have on my list is, we'll just kind of cover these next three at the same time actually, is Base Form Teen Gohan, Second Form Cell, and Super Android 13. So I have those ones listed specifically because I think for Xenoverse 3's roster, in my opinion, I don't think we should be trying to do what Sparking Zero's doing and adding like every character in Dragon Ball. I think what they should do is whatever characters are in the final roster for Xenoverse 2, so including the base game and DLC, they should focus on those characters and giving them the stuff that they're missing. So like, Teen Gohan in Xenoverse right now, he starts off as just a Super Saiyan. There's no base form version of him. I think they should just go ahead and add that. And then like 13, he doesn't transform into Super Android 13. Or like Cell, his second form. With Cell, I mentioned him specifically because they did a Breakers collab, and second form Cell is straight up like modeled in the game, but he's just not in it. So instead of adding like, Kakunsa, Rosie, or like Supreme Kai, like all of these characters, like all these random characters that like Sparking Zero does, right? Where like the point of Sparking Zero in my eyes is to have like every Dragon Ball character imaginable. I don't think Xenoverse 3 needs to do that. I think customization is way more important, and to make that more like, if they want to add new stuff, I think they should just focus on what's missing from the characters we already have. Obviously they can add new stuff too. I'm not saying don't add any new characters. I just don't think it needs to be like a huge amount of new characters besides like, like Super 13. Like, why is he not in the game? Second form Cell is already modeled in the game. Even like Rage Trunks, for example, like he's in the story mode for one of the DLCs, but he's not playable. Those sorts of things. They even have like in training mode, you can play as like Demigra, Corrupted Zamasu, and Mira's final form. Those sorts of things is I think what Xenoverse 3 should focus on in terms of the base game roster. Then obviously, once we get the new arcs and stuff animated, we're going to be getting a bunch of DLC. I'm sure we're going to get new presets too, with like God Goku from the remake. Because God Goku right now in Xenoverse doesn't have any presets from Dragon Ball Super, actually. Like, none of his moves are based on Super. To be fair, they're not really based on the movie either, but they could like add stuff from the new arc. Same thing with like Frieza, all that stuff. They could add new presets based on like the remake stuff that we get. So I think just focusing on the characters we already have and fleshing them out a bit more is what they should do. I don't think we need to get a bunch of like brand new characters that have never been seen, because that's what Sparking Zero's for. That's the whole point of it. Like right now, Sparking Zero's about to get like Chi-Lai playable. I don't think Xenoverse 3 needs that. Would it be cool? Yeah, I'm not going to complain if we get it, of course. But thinking of it like more realistically, I think for me, when I'm playing Xenoverse, I'm looking more for customization options, and like base Team Gohan to me adds like another option of like, oh, okay, I can do more unique stuff with Gohan. I'm not like forced into Super Saiyan right away. I can kind of pick like, okay, do I want to transform into Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2? Like that sort of thing. I think those sorts of characters are what Xenoverse 3 should focus on. The next thing, this is kind of like a general thing across the board, but I think all characters should have a custom partner key. The reason I say this, again, more customization. I've talked about this in a previous video as well, but it's relevant here. the custom partner keys, so if you don't know what that is, in Xenoverse right now, your mentors and certain other characters as well that were added later in DLCs have a slot where you can change the color of their outfits as well as their skills. I think every character should have one of these just because it makes things more fun. Imagine like you could play like First Form Cell and give them like Perfect Cell's moves, or like for Final Form Frieza, you could give them like First Form Frieza's moves, that sort of thing. It just allows you to do deeper customization that I think would be way more fun if they give it to everybody, because Xenoverse 2 was kind of slowly adding it to certain characters, but I feel like they should have just given it to everyone. Like, since Xenoverse 3 is happening now, just give every character a slot where you can customize their colors. Some characters even had unique outfits you could give them, like you give Kid Gohan like the Journey to the West fit, that sort of thing. I don't think every character needs an outfit, but at least having the slot where you can change up their move sets, kind of like what like the older Dragon Ball games like Raging Blast would do, where like you would, I mean, obviously it wasn't preset based, but you could pick like, oh, does Super Saiyan 3 Goku start with this move, or this move? I think Xenoverse just letting you, you know, like Future Gohan, for example, in Xenoverse 2, you can give him like Father Son Kamehameha. Like, why not just let you do that for like Beast also? Like, that would be sick. Father Son Kamehameha on Beast, but you can't do that right now in Xenoverse because there's no partner key slot. So I think every character should just have one. That might be a lot to ask, but I think it'd be cool. The next thing I have is playable giants. So they could maybe even make this like its own mode or something, but there's a ton of giants like Great Apes. Cell Max is another one that comes to mind. There's a bunch of those in the game that you just straight up can't play as for some reason, and I think, you know, like, why not just let you play as them? They could even add it as like a thing just for like raid bosses, for example, like, because, you know, there's the crystal raid mode in Xenoverse 2 where you get to actually control the raid boss. Just throw the Great Apes and Cell Max into there too, because why not? Like, I mean, that mode is supposed to be like you fight one specific person who's hard. Like, I can understand if they don't want to do it for like regular online, but at least having some sort of mode where you can play as the Great Apes and or giant characters in general, like Cell Max, would be cool, because like Cell Max looks really sick. Like, his model is really cool, his moves are all really good, but you can't actually use him, so you just kind of have to hope there's a raid that's out that has him. I think adding a mode, even if it is just crystal raids, where you can play as that would be really cool. Like, I don't see why not. It just gives, again, more characters that you can play as, and it just leads to more fun, in my opinion. So the last thing I have in terms of the roster is doing more collaboration and also using like hero stuff. So for example, I think they could just go ahead and add like Xeno or like Time Patroller Goku into the game. Why? Like, even if it's just like a costume, I feel like it's just cool. Obviously, I don't know what the rights issue is with heroes. It is seeming like maybe hero stuff still can be used, but I don't know. But just getting to use like the, you know, like Xeno Goku's outfit, it would just be really cool. Again, just more variety for all the characters and stuff like that too. Collab stuff I think would be cool. Like I said, you know, like I said with Sparking Zero, we don't need like every character in Dragon Ball in Xenoverse 3. I think like Xenoverse 3 getting like Shallot though would be awesome. I would love that if they added like Shallot, or, you know, just more collab type of characters from other Dragon Ball media. Like, we can get like 21 in the game, that sort of thing. I think Xenoverse should absolutely do that sort of stuff. Just because collabs are always fun, they're always really cool. And then like with Shallot, for example, the developers of Xenoverse literally developed Legends, so go ahead, like, just put Shallot in. And then, you know, whatever stuff we can use from heroes, like even if it's just outfits, I think even if we could, it's just like the custom slot where you can give Goku like the Time Patroller fit, that alone would be cool to me. I don't like, it doesn't even have to go any further than that. We don't even need like the heroes forms, in my opinion. If it's just like the costumes, that alone is really sick to me. But yeah, that's pretty much everything in terms of the characters, though, in terms of like forms, customs, CACS characters, all that. Let me know what you guys think down below, though, if there's any wishes that you guys have for your custom characters, like transformations that I might not have talked about, or if there's certain things you want to see on the regular roster, whatever it is that I've talked about that you either agreed with or that I missed and that you have an idea about that I didn't talk about, let me know down below. But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. So until next time, I will see you all later, and peace. Have a good day or night, y'all. I will see you in the next one.